In this video, I want to look at the new key switch editing in Studio One 5. Now, key switches are typically used in orchestral libraries and other instruments that provide sound or articulation changes and variations. And they usually use notes outside of the playable range as switches to change the playing style. Now, in order to avoid conflicts with actions that we can take in Studio One, like transposing or processing with note effects or the chord track, we haven't looked at those yet, but we will. The new key switches are now filtered and excluded from any type of this kind of playback processing. And there's a new key switch lane that's added to the musical editor to view and edit these key switches in context with the notes that we're editing. And notes assigned as key switches are also highlighted in the piano view. Now let's start by listening to this little arrangement with a cello part and an acoustic guitar. And I have the score opened here to display both of them, the guitar on the grand staff and the cello up here. All right, now to start with, before we get to the key switches, I noticed there's a little bit of a conflict here on one of the notes. And one of the great things about the score editor and viewing multiple parts like this is that we can see the discrepancies between the different parts. And of course, I do that in the track list here by enabling both of these. But getting back to here, I'm just going to click here, or here rather. Yeah, beat 3 here, C and D. I'm just going to select that and use the up arrow. You can transpose by semitones like that. Better, still not perfect, but it'll do for now. Now let's look at the key switches. I'm going to hit F2 to open the piano view editor. And the great thing is that now we can view these side by side. And here I have them laid out horizontally rather than vertically like I did in the last video. So by keeping this pinned on top, and again, this is a small arrangement with only 2 instruments, but with this here and this here, I can view the data and edit the length or the positions more accurately here while viewing the notation there. Now here is where we get the new key switch lane. So we can add a lane by using this plus button if we want to view potentially velocity up there and key switches down here. And of course, we can add multiple lanes to view multiple types of data, but let's remove those. I'll just work with one for now so we can view it a little bit bigger. And this is the key switch lane. Now, the idea is that instruments report their key switches, like this is Presence XT that I'm using, so it's built into Studio One, and it displays the articulations with their names automatically, but other third-party instruments, like maybe contact libraries, can be mapped manually using the mapping presets. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to open this cello instrument, and we can see here on the main info page, when I click here, that these are the key switch notes. There's sustain. I hit D. Get a tremolo, staccato, pizzicato, and a quick little crescendo. So the idea is that we want to program these in. So let's close this up. And all I need to do is, let's go back to the beginning here, click with the pencil tool, and we can see the list of key switches. I'm just going to hold Command key to toggle it since I'm using the arrow. That'll give it to me. And I just need to click here. And there's my list of articulations. So I'm going to start with sustain, and let's just play. Now I want these ones to be the staccato and then back to the sustain over here. Let's listen to that now. So same thing there. I'm going to right click and I want to switch those to staccato for those short notes and then back to the sustain sound over there. And let's just go through this quickly. I'll do the same thing here. The phrase repeats with a similar kind of structure. Staccato for those notes. Back to sustain. And then at the end here, I want to use pizzicato. So let's listen to that whole thing with these articulation changes on the cello. Let's try the crescendo over there, and we'll click this actually and just delete it. And then here, go back to the sustain, and let's just play it from here. Yeah, I don't like that as much. I'm just going to hit undo a couple times. There we go. So that's working nicely. And again, we see both parts here. Let's switch to the nylon guitar because that also has some key switches. And I'm going to do the same thing. Click there. And I'm just going to use the regular open string until the very end with that little descending line down here at bar 7. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose the dead muted notes. Let's hear that from here. So very elegant handling of key switches in these lanes at the bottom of the musical editor. And when you're creating your own, the key switch maps are saved with the instrument and effects presets for a quick recall. And we'll look at saving presets later in these videos. But that's the new key switching. We'll continue with more in the next video.